Welcome back to another Storytime tutorial. In our last tutorial, we went over uploading our resources for our stories. To check out that tutorial, just click the link in the description. In this tutorial, we're going to go over creating our first story. So let's get started. In our dashboard, I'm going to click on New Story. From here, we can edit our story settings. I'll give my story a title and a description. I'm not going to upload an icon, but if I had one, I would include it here. Next, I'll select the appropriate genre. And finally, I'll set the rating. And now our story has been created. I'll click here to view our new story. Because I didn't upload an icon, our story is using Storythyme's default icon. I can always change this later. So let's go into the editor. We are now in the story editor. As you can see, my story currently doesn't have any resources available to it. This is because I need to assign my resources to the story. So let's go back to our dashboard. From here, I can assign resources to stories. Every story that you've created will show up in this list here. Currently, I only have one story, so we only see our one story here. I'm going to check our story and click Update. Now, our story has access to this background. I'll do this with every resource that I want my story to have access to. Next, I'm going to go into the resource library. Here, you'll see a list of all the public resources that are available to you for your projects. Currently, we only have this dialog box. I'm going to add this resource to my dashboard. This way, I can use it in my stories. Now that I've added it to my dashboard, I can check my story so that the story has access to this resource as well. Alright, so I've added several resources to my story. Let's go back to the story editor. As you can see, my story now has various resources to work with. So now, let's start building our first frame. We're going to start our story in the school hallway. All of the backgrounds that I'm using for my story are from Uncle Mugen. You can check the link in the description to visit his website and get all sorts of free backgrounds. Next, I want to add the school bell sound effect to play in this frame. I also want the first frame to be a timed frame. So we're going to go into the Frames Options menu, and we're going to set the frame duration type to timed. We're going to make it last 3.5 seconds, and we're not going to fade out the frame. Alright, our first frame is done. So I'm going to save it and move on to our next frame. In our next frame, I'm going to add our two sprites. I'll add Jaden on the left side and Karura on the right side. I'm also going to add our dialog box and some audio. We'll do Season's Joy. In our audio options menu, I'll make sure that it is set to loop. Next, I'm going to go to the dialog menu. In our second frame, I'm going to make Jaden speak. I'll move the pointer so that it is pointing at Jaden. We'll set the speaker name to Jaden, and we'll give him some dialogue. Next, we're going to change Jaden's expression. We'll do this in the Sprite State menu. I'll select this one. Our second frame is done, so we'll save it. Next, let's work on our third frame. In this frame, I'll make Karura respond. We'll update the expression, and we'll set the dialogue. And our third frame is done. Now for the fourth frame. Now let's preview our story so far. Looking good. In the next part, we'll continue creating our story and we'll work with choice mode. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more story time videos.